Well, it has been about a month now since we left on our trip for Japan, and we are back. And it was an interesting trip. It was not exactly the trip that we planned for, as you guys saw our planning in our other video, but it was a super awesome trip. And today I'm just going to kind of give a general overview of everything and let you guys know that you can expect a lot of videos. We did a ton of filming for everything as we were on our trip. We documented a lot of it. So we left for the airport at about 2 a.m. in the morning, which means that we didn't really sleep at all before we left. And we drove down to the airport and we're trying to check in. And immediately we kind of ran into some issues. So Bree, right off the bat, she started getting really sick, I think, because her nervousness and stuff like that. And so she didn't feel good before we left. And then we had some extra stresses because we had some bags we needed to check and everything. And I don't ever go to airports this early in the morning, but apparently there's like nobody there to like check your bags, and everything made it sound like it was opening at 6 when our flight left at 6. So that was kind of the initial rough start to everything, but still not really that bad. We managed through it, and we ended up eventually getting someone to help us and getting our bag checked at the last minute. Running through, we cleared through customs pretty easy. I was actually pretty happy about that. It'd been quite a while since I'd flown, definitely not since the big C happened, and so it was kind of good to get through security and everything and get on our way. We took a little miniature plane up to Vancouver, Canada, and we were stuck at the Vancouver airport for like another huge amount of time. I can't remember how long it was. It was something like 5 hours though. Fortunately, the airport's pretty cool. I'll try to show off a couple of videos here while I'm talking of just kind of the stuff that they have there. There's a lot of like kind of cool, I don't know, like Inuit like statues and art and stuff like that. There's a giant fish tank and stuff there, and just some kind of cool features that I checked out. Wasn't really my favorite airport I've been in though, and it was a really long time. And I ended up kind of passing out at one point on the airport like seating. And I woke up and I had this terrible pain in my elbow, which I actually still have to this day, which is like over a month later. I don't know why it hurts so bad. It's not red or anything, but it's painful. And I don't know. I'm kind of thinking about getting it checked out, but there's some other stuff that was going on too that kind of made me not get that checked out just right away. So eventually our plane left and we had a grueling 10-hour flight to Tokyo over the big ocean. Not a lot of fun stuff to look out the window. But what made it really tough is we flew coach because, you know, we're not rich like that. And we were in like kind of a 5-row seat that was in the middle of the plane. And there was the 3 of us at one end of it. And there was absolutely no room at all. Bree said she doesn't want to fly Air Canada again. I have a suspicion that no matter what airplane you take, you're probably going to be stuff like that in coach, though. It really, really sucked to spend 10 hours cooped up that tight. We were given some mediocre food and a few opportunities to have some drinks and stuff. And, you know, there's bathrooms and everything, but it was not an overall pleasant experience. And despite you know, being so tired and having it be such a long flight, I couldn't sleep. I could not sleep at all. Ended up playing my Switch a lot. I got a little ebook reader before we left. I read a lot of manga on the way there and a little bit of Mushiko Tensei visual novel or light novel. And I don't know, we made it there. We made it there eventually. We got to Japan, and immediately after getting there, we were corralled basically into, you know, where people intake, I think it's customs or immigration or whatever they call it. And they went through that whole process. Again, that wasn't super fun because it was just the biggest queue ever. And like everyone is sick. Everyone is sick at this point, like coughing and sneezing, and made me really paranoid that I was going to get sick. And yeah, we made it through. And then we got on to try to figure out how the heck we were going to get to Asakusa in Tokyo from the Narita airport, which is pretty far away. If you guys haven't seen a map, it's kind of like pretty northeast away. But they do have like a Skyliner train. So we needed to figure out how we could get on that, how we could get tickets and stuff like that. And we'd watched videos. We had done like a lot of prepping and planning and, all this stuff. I think I was immediately made aware that everything I know wasn't enough. It's funny because you spend years, like some people like me spend years looking at like YouTube videos and reading articles and talking to other people, and you just get all of this really in-depth information or wild information about, traveling and things you can do to make things easier, things to make things quicker. And you get to a point, and I know people that are like this right now that haven't traveled to Japan, but you definitely get to a point. It's easy for a person to get to the point where you feel like you're knowledgeable, like you're comfortable, and that all these things. Like, oh yeah, I did all the research, I did all the studying, I did all the planning. It's gonna be perfect. And we immediately found out that wasn't the case. We had all sorts of issues with stuff. We were trying to get our IC cards, which are like the Suica cards. Welcome Suicas are the only ones you can get right now, which are just temporary Suica cards. And if you're not familiar with them, they're kind of like these little credit card looking things. I'll grab one. It's like these little credit card things here, and they just work, via touch. And you tap it, at the train station, and you put money on it, and it charges your account. And we didn't know we could even use it for the Skyliner, so we went and we bought tickets, and that was a whole nother thing. There's a lot of discrepancies on we had to figure out really quick on where we can get cash, how to get cash easily, when we can use our card, like our actual credit cards and debit cards, when we can use our Suica cards, when we can use cash. It was just a kind of a lot immediately after coming off of all this strenuous stuff that we had done. And we eventually made it on the Narita Express, and it was awesome. It was awesome once we got on it. The train systems there are amazing, and it was immediately clear that they are absolutely amazing once you kind of get the gist of them. It was a beautiful little trip. I didn't get any footage of it because I was literally half asleep, and we were all pretty stressed trying to drag the kid around and trying to just navigate everything. And but you just sit on this nice, comfortable train, very clean, very quiet. And it took about an hour and some change to get to Asakusa, and we got off. And then we had to figure out how to get to our destination. And then that's when the real big thing happened, and that was I realized I lost my phone. So immediately after getting to Japan, I had lost my cell phone, which had a lot of information on it, and obviously navigation abilities and stuff like that. We went to use Bree's phone, which is an iPhone, and I don't know why exactly, but Google Maps does not work the same on iPhone as it does on Android. There's a lot of things that don't work the same way. And then we also later found out a big problem with our frustration with navigating is we found out that Bree's compass was turned off. So the compass setting in the app is pretty necessary when you're kind of navigating around, because it tells you like which way you're facing and which way you're walking. And so it's very, very frustrating. And so we get to our place for the first time, and it's a cool place. It's like, it was a little bit smaller than we expected. We expected it to be small. It was a little bit smaller than that, but I think, you just have to keep in mind, everything's not huge in Japan, and it had everything we needed there. It had like washer and dryer, which are like, they're put together, and the dryer was terrible. But it would have been nice to kind of air dry some stuff, but we didn't have space to do that because we were on the first floor. Had a shower. The shower was actually pretty nice. It had good pressure and everything. It was kind of in this little closed room, and it had like a dryer and a fan that was built in to keep it nice and comfortable while you're in there. And some towels. There's a sink, a little like hot plate thing to cook on. We could have done some cooking, and we actually had planned to do some cooking, but we never ended up actually doing it. But yeah, it had some amenities in there, which are nice. Just some stuff to get us started and rolling on our way. There was a bunk bed and then like a singular Western style bed, I guess I'll say. The bunk bed had kind of like mats on it. Riley ended up taking the upper bunk, and I actually ended up sleeping on the bottom bunk because it really actually, the stiffness helped my back a lot, which I have a lot of back problems, so it was kind of awesome to have my back feel good. But wasn't able to sleep with Bree. She got the bed to herself, and she had a good time sleeping in that. I think she enjoyed it. It was really hard keeping the place clean over our trip because it's just so dang small. I kind of had to set a point where every so many days, like every 2 days or so, we'd do a quick clean because it was easier to clean up a small mess than wait till it got really big. Because one time I think we made it like a week and it was like the place was a disaster. It was so hard to clean. And I just don't like to have like a place be filthy. I know it's Airbnb and you pay for cleaning services and stuff after you leave, but it just seemed to be a little bit more respectful not to do that. The place itself was in a pretty good location. It was a little far from a lot of stuff, but I mean, it wasn't that bad. I thought in my head that like a 15 or 19-minute walk from like train stations and stuff was brutal, I guess. But I am fairly out of weight, out of shape, and I acclimated really quickly. Actually, we all did. Riley, the kid, obviously, she rocked it the whole time, but me and Bree kind of struggled a bit at first, and then we kind of, I actually think we lost a little bit of weight that first week, like fairly quickly, because we were walking all the time, and the walking didn't really seem that bad. Plus, you're in a new country, everything's new around you and exciting, and it's just, I don't know, you're absorbing things all the time, which was a really, really amazing part about the trip, and we're just really glad to be there. We do smoke, we vape, and it was a little bit interesting because in Japan, you are not supposed to smoke on the streets or just smoke wherever. They have designated areas for it. We found a little konbini, a Japanese convenience store that was kind of sort of ish around the corner through a series of alleys that had a little smoking spot, and we'd hang out down there in the mornings and stuff. Later, we found out it was kind of acceptable to smoke in front of the place we were renting, but we didn't really do that too much. But yeah, that's just kind of how we set up with everything. And it was really, really not, it was strenuous, but it wasn't the worst outside of losing my phone. So the next day when we woke up, I said, I gotta figure out something with my phone. I don't know what to do. So the first thing I thought of is, they have lost and founds at the train station. So we should go to, the train station and see where the lost and found is. So we ended up kind of going through and trying to navigate through the train stations. And a lot of them are underground. And I have to say, they initially, they seem very daunting. They seem kind of scary. It's scary to go underground and just have a ton of people pushing all over the place. It's like we had a lot of anxiety with the whole thing. Felt like we were at any given instance going to be just completely lost and just not to be seen ever again, stuck somewhere. It was a lot of fear and worry. But as you get more adjusted to stuff, you actually realize there is, especially in Tokyo, like 100% in all of Tokyo we were at, they just ridiculously label everything. Like if you pay attention to your surroundings, you can always figure out where to go as long as you know like what train line you need to go to, what platform you need to go to, what exit you need to take. Like there's signs, there's things on the ground, there's colored strips, there's all sorts of different things. And then there's little information booths anywhere too if you have any super crazy problems. Though the information booths, I guess, were kind of busy sometimes. So kind of hit or miss whether you really wanted to do that and waste a bunch of your time. So after navigating through for quite a while, we eventually found an area where it had like an information booth, and we went to talk to the guy. And we don't know Japanese. We don't know Japanese much at all. I'm not gonna lie. I have a minimal amount of knowledge in it. I know significantly more now than I did before I left, but we were not conversational whatsoever. And so when I went up and spoke English to the information guy, he like panicked. Like you can tell like there's a lot of Japanese people that you try to talk to in the service industry that are like that. He just panicked and was like, here. And he pointed over at this lady, and they have like these little people that are dressed like super, like almost like flight attendants that just hang out like around in that area, I guess. And they speak a minimal amount of English. And we were trying to tell them that, we lost our phone and we're just trying to see if there's a lost and found, if there was anywhere, we could maybe talk to, see if they got it, if it was turned in at all. Cause like I said, Japan's really cool in the way that if you read online, you actually see a huge amount of people that lose things, have their things just turned in, and you can get them again, which is super awesome. So I had kind of thought that they were going to, get some information from us or anything like that. And instead, they gave us a phone number. And we don't have phones to call anyone. There's these pay phones, but I really didn't feel comfortable using the pay phones that are there. There's not very many of them around, and the ones in the train station are like in really busy areas and stuff, and I didn't want to try to navigate on the phone. On top of it, I asked them, I said, well, did they speak English? And the lady's like, and so I'm just like, okay, so you want me to call a phone number that's not in English to try to get this thing solved? I don't think that's going to work for us. And, I'm not blaming them. I don't think that by any means everyone should be knowing English because we're in Japan, right? I mean, it's the expectation is that people speak Japanese. I just need to figure out what I needed to do. So we ended up going back home, and I thought to myself, we have this host for our Airbnb. He's a Japanese resident, and he seems to be a really nice and helpful guy. So maybe we will contact him. And we reached out to him, told him about the phone. He got a police report and took a huge amount of information from us and turned it in to the police to see if they would be able to find the phone or had located it anywhere. We also he also reached out to multiple train stations, I guess, at their lost and founds and reported the phone is lost as well. And, unfortunately, I'll just give a spoiler at the whole end of this. The whole month went by and my phone was never retrieved. So I don't exactly know what happened to it at all. After a couple days of kind of panicking and having a lot of problems trying to use Google Maps on Bree's phone, I eventually decided, I need something. I need a phone of some sort, something to get us by. And I ended up finding out that you can buy used phones super close by at a really popular chain of places that sells used books and stuff called Book Off. Not only do they sell books, as you'd expect, but they sell like video games and video game consoles and anime figures, and like there's PlayStation portables there, cell phones, tablets, laptops, video game systems. I mean, it was like a lot of weird little things, but a very small variety of each of them. And I ended up getting this this Japanese Sony phone that was kind of older, but it was cheap. I think it was like $40 or $30 or something like that. And so I thought, well, it runs Android and we'll be able to make this work. And holy cow, that phone sucked. That phone sucked really, really bad. We did get it set up. We were able to navigate a little bit, but really it just kind of helped us get to Akihabara. If you guys aren't, well, I mean, you guys should be familiar with that if you're watching this page. It's the Electric Town, as it's known. All the video games and weeb stuff is there. A ton of different cell phone places, too. And the Google Pixel 8 Pro had just come out. And so I went there and I bought it tax-free. And the yen conversion right now is actually pretty insane. It's like it was 67 cents or 66 cents per 100 yen, which was insane. And so I ended up getting the phone for like almost nothing. It was, I mean, comparative for a brand new phone. It literally came out just a couple days before I had to get it. And so I ended up getting the Pixel 8 and everything was pretty good. The other thing I meant to mention is we got a portable Wi-Fi unit too, and that we actually picked that up at the Narita airport. I had prearranged it before. I can't remember how much it was, but I prepaid for like a whole month, and all I had to do was find a little post office and tell them I had a package, and I gave them my name, and they handed me a package, and it had the Wi-Fi in it, and we got it set up so we had internet. And so with phones and with internet at this point in our trip, me and Bree were able to communicate with each other and we're able to navigate. And everything should have been really good, except for the fact that all three of us got sick. So, along with all the other headaches of everything else that's going around, it turned out we all got really, really sick. And we stayed sick for the entirety of the trip, which is something that put a huge hamper on a lot of content and a lot of things that we were planning to do. Our sickness ranged from everything from fevers to upset stomachs to obviously some really bad respiratory issues, coughing. Our sinuses were trashed out. It was not fun. It is not fun. It's not. I feel a little bit better now that I've got back to the States and I've checked in with the doctor and got some medication, but it was absolutely brutal. Absolutely brutal.